Hello and welcome. It's Thursday, October 23rd here in Seoul. I'm Laah Hyun-kyung, and these are the stories making headlines at this hour. A gunman attacks the heart of Canada's capital city. One soldier is killed, while Canadian Prime Minister says his country will not be intimidated by terrorism. North Korea claims its leader Kim Jong-un took U.S. President Barack Obama's request into account when releasing Jeffrey Fowle. Washington says it's willing to resume talks. And as for the inter-Korean talks, Pyongyang does not rule out the possibility of holding the meeting, but does emphasize that Seoul should stop provoking the regime. In our top story this afternoon, local police are investigating a shootout in Ottawa where a gunman killed a young soldier near the war memorial before storming into the Parliament building where he was shot dead by police. Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper says this is the second terrorist attack in 3 days. Our Kim Ji has this report.
The heart of Ottawa was in lockdown Wednesday after a soldier guarding a war memorial was shot dead and gunfire erupted in the Parliament building. Canadian authorities have identified the suspect in the shooting as Michael Zihab Bibo, a 32-year-old Canadian national who had converted to Islam. He was shot dead by police in a firefight at the Parliament. Authorities have not ruled out the possibility that additional shooters could be on the run. Witness accounts suggest the man who fatally shot the soldier later stormed the Parliament, but Canadian police say they couldn't confirm if it was the same person. The soldier killed has been identified as 24-year-old Corporal Nathan Cirillo. 3 others have been hospitalized but are said to be in stable condition. Eyewitnesses say they heard multiple gunshots.
I was just taking off my jacket to go into caucus. I hear this pop, pop, pop. Possibly 10 shots, don't really know. Thought it was dynamite or construction rather than anything else.
The chaos took place just before 10 a.m. local time as leaders of Canada's 3 major parties were holding weekly meetings of Parliament. Addressing the nation after the attack, Prime Minister Stephen Harper said Canada will not be intimidated.
In fact, this will lead us to strengthen our resolve and redouble our efforts and those of our national security agencies to take all necessary steps to identify and counter threats and keep Canada safe here at home.
He added those responsible would have no haven. The shootings came a matter of hours after Canada raised its terror threat level from low to medium, following an incident on Monday in which a soldier was killed in a hit-and-run attack by a Muslim convert. No motive for the shootings has been identified yet, but earlier this month, Canada announced plans to join the U.S.-led coalition against Islamic State militants in Iraq. Kim Ji, ARIRANG News.
Now, there was apparently no deal between Washington and Pyongyang in the release of one of 3 American detainees in North Korea, Jeffrey Fowle. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says Washington is ready to resume talks with the regime, but only on one condition. Hwang Sung-hee reports.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said Wednesday that no deal was reached with North Korea in the release of Jeffrey Fowle, but that Washington was willing to resume talks if Pyongyang took steps towards denuclearization.
No, there was no quid pro quo. And we are very concerned about the remaining American citizens who are in North Korea, and we have great hopes that North Korea will see the benefit of releasing them also as soon as possible.
Commenting on the release of the American detainee, the North state-run Korean Central News Agency claimed Kim Jong-un took into consideration repeated requests from U.S. President Barack Obama. Speaking in Berlin, Kerry expressed hopes for restarting the nuclear talks in the coming weeks or months, saying that was the key to reducing the U.S. military presence in the region. The 28,000 U.S. troops stationed in South Korea have remained a constant source of anger for North Korea.
It can come to the talks prepared to discuss denuclearization. And the United States is fully prepared. If they do that and begin that process, we are prepared to begin the process of denuclearization, of reducing the need for American force and presence in the region, because the threat itself would then be reduced.
Some North Korea watchers say Pyongyang released Fowle seeking a breakthrough with Washington. Fowle returned to southern Ohio Wednesday and said he was treated well during his detainment. But still, 2 Americans remain in custody, including Kenneth Bae, who has been held now for nearly 2 years. Hwang Sang-hee, ARIRANG News.
And another breakthrough North Korea may be seeking is with South Korea, but it's demanding Seoul reduce military conflicts and stop activists from flying anti-Pyongyang leaflets across the border. Kim Hyun-bin has the details.
North Korea has warned South Korea that military clashes in the border could lead to the cancellation of upcoming inter-Korean talks. In a statement Wednesday, the North said it was possible to hold a second round of high-level talks, but only if Seoul takes appropriate measures to ensure there are no further altercations at the inter-Korean border. The South has proposed holding the talks next Thursday, but the North has yet to respond, although it had agreed to the meeting in principle. North Korea blamed the South for a recent exchange of fire early this week and questioned the South's desire to take steps to improve inter-Korean ties. The North also demanded that Seoul stop activists from launching anti-Pyongyang leaflets this weekend. It called the leaflets drop an act of war and repeated its threat to fire on the balloons as they float across the border. The South Korean government says it does have the legal right to stop the activists if their actions could potentially harm local residents or their property. Meanwhile, South Korea has pulled down a Christmas tree tower at an inter-Korean border town, removing a symbol that's been a source of diplomatic and military tension since the early 1970s. The North has threatened to shell the tower decorated with colorful lights and tipped with a cross. The tower could be seen from as far away as the North Korean border town of Kaesong. A South Korean defense official says the tower was taken down due to safety considerations, but some experts have suggested Seoul decided to dismantle it to foster better inter-Korean ties. Kim Hyun-bin, ARIRANG News.
A face-to-face confrontation between former UN Commission of Inquiry on North Korea Human Rights Michael Kirby and North Korean officials. Kirby stresses the regime should be referred to the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. Ji Myung-gil tells us more.
Intense back and forth at the United Nations, Michael Kirby, the chief of the UN Commission in charge of investigating human rights abuses in North Korea, made his case for referring the regime to the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. North Korean officials asked him directly what evidence there was that the regime was violating human rights.
That the Commission of Inquiry found crimes against humanity have been committed in North Korea based on the politics set at the highest level of a state. So my question is that, what policy exactly do you mean? And which crime are committed in my country against humanity?
Kirby responded saying the North's vast network of prison camps were run by the state and that acts of torture, enslavement, and starvation were taking place with their knowledge.
In international law, if those who have the power to stop crimes against humanity hold back and do not exercise that power to stop crimes against humanity, they may themselves personally be responsible for crimes against humanity.
North Korean defectors who were held in prison camps also testified before the UN about their experiences.
They didn't give us food if we were not able to execute the required amount of labor. Many prisoners died of malnutrition.
In February, the UN Commission of Inquiry on North Korea, headed by Kirby, released a 372-page report on human rights abuses in the North. North Korea claims it is the product of political maneuvering from hostile forces, including the U.S., that are seeking to overthrow the regime. A vote for referring North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and the regime to The Hague is expected at the UN in late November. But the likelihood of it passing is in question, as Western diplomats expect China to use its veto power. Ji Myung-gil, ARIRANG News.
In other news, the U.S. has placed more travel restrictions on those flying in from Ebola-hit nations, namely Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. Not only do they have to arrive through one of 5 designated airports, monitoring will now follow those passengers for 21 days, the maximum incubation period of the virus. The measures will take effect starting Monday, initially in 6 states. Now, meanwhile, in an emergency committee meeting in Geneva, the World Health Organization is discussing whether stricter travel rules were needed in West Africa's border areas. The group also updated the Ebola death toll, which showed a spike of 322 deaths over a 5-day period. Sierra Leone's government estimates it's seeing more than 20 Ebola deaths every day in its western regions. In the year 2012, for Korea was at its record high.
All of the day's important events close to home and around the world. Join Laah Hyun-kyung live from Seoul.
Shopping market thinks the true meaning of creation shines through. Korea's finance minister says Seoul will join Beijing's move to set up a new regional bank called the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, but only if the two countries narrow their differences on certain issues. Speaking to reporters at the APEC finance ministers meeting in Beijing on Wednesday, Choi Kyung-hwan said more discussions on the governance structure as well as investment guarantee issues are necessary. China asked Korea to join the drive in July. Its move to set up the bank is seen as a counterbalance to the U.S.-led Asian Development Bank. A leading business association in Korea has released a gloomy outlook for next year for key industries such as electronics, automobiles, steel, and shipbuilding. The Federation of Korean Industries on Wednesday cited the sluggish global economy and increased competition as the reasons. It added the weak Japanese yen remains a threat to Korean automakers and shipbuilders as it erodes their price competitiveness. And shifting gears, if you are a fan of robots and happen to be in Korea, you might want to pay attention to our next story. We show you robots that not only help humans, but make human-like facial expressions. ARIRANG's Kim tells us where you can check this out and shares some examples.
This is a 50-centimeter long robot. It might be small in size, but it can easily climb up this ladder. Going up the size range a bit, and this larger robot can be used in disaster relief. It can walk over very rough terrains and even over nails.
The final task is for this robot to drive an automobile into a dangerous place and pass the obstacles placed in front of it.
And don't just think of these robots as cold, hard machines. These humanoid robots are even able to make facial expressions. With a bright smile on its face, it looks as if this robot is communicating. Another concept on display at this exhibition is wearable robots. This robot helps patients with paralysia walk on their own 2 feet by strengthening leg muscles.
By moving the healthy leg, it stimulates the injured leg and helps rehabilitation.
Wearable robots can even be used by the military. This robot, for example, takes the vast majority of this 90-kilogram weight off the soldier's back, meaning they can be more agile even when carrying heavy backpacks. These are just a handful of the vast array of robots on display at Robot World 2014, taking place just northwest of Seoul. Around 150 companies in the field are here to show off their high-tech robots to prospective buyers, as robots look set to take a bigger role in all of our lives in the years to come. Kim, ARIRANG News.
With an increasing number of Chinese opting to spend their vacations in Korea, marketers are trying to analyze their spending patterns. A new survey has found their favorite Korean goods and services, and our Kwon So-ah tells us what's on that list.
One of Korea's busiest tourist seasons, China's Golden National Day holiday came to a close recently. It served as an important time for Korean businesses to study Chinese consumers' latest buying trends. The Korea Marketing Association and China's People's Daily Online jointly conducted an online survey on more than 17,000 Chinese people that found more than 40 Korean products Chinese consumers are most interested in. 18 were non-durable goods like cosmetics, health products, and food and beverages, including Korea's globally popular instant noodles Nongsim Shinramyeon. Amore Pacific's cosmetic brand Seorasu is also very popular among the Chinese due to its herbal ingredients and gold decoration. 10 of the most popular items were durable goods like luxury bags, electronic devices, and cars. Chinese buyers also reach out for MCM bags carried by many Korean actresses in drama TV shows, Korea's best-selling rice cooker Kuku, and Samsung Galaxy smartphones. In the service sector, K-pop group EXO, award-winning drama My Love from the Star, cafe and bakeries like Cafe Bene and Paris Baguette topped the list. Lotte department store was also very popular. It saw sales spike 87% on year during the Chinese National Day holiday. The Korea Marketing Association's analysis shows Chinese consumers are very keen on gold and metallic decorated products, but do not always buy top-end brands. The chairman of the research team says the survey provides both countries with an invaluable insight into the current market trends. Kwon So-ah, ARIRANG News.
Nearly 50 years ago, the arm bones of an unknown dinosaur were discovered in Mongolia, but little was known about it, until now at least. The mystery has been solved thanks to a team of Korean researchers. Our Son Jung-in has this next report.
In 1965, a group of researchers unearthed mysterious fossils from 2 large dinosaur forearms and claws in Mongolia's Gobi Desert. The pair of 2.4-meter-long bones suggested they belonged to a predator bigger than the Tyrannosaurus rex and named it Deinocheirus mirificus, which means unusual, horrible hand. Nearly 50 years later, a Korean-led team of experts were finally able to excavate the rest of the dinosaur bone and piece them together. The reconstruction of the complete Deinocheirus skeleton measured 7 meters with a series of extra long bones in its back that formed a hump. Researchers think that the long spines may have helped the creature balance and support its huge mass on its hind legs. They also found the contents of its stomach, in which some 1,400 stones and fish bones and scales were spotted, suggesting that the dinosaur was an omnivore that fed mostly on plants and small animals.
The absence of teeth and the fact that the snout bent forward is the characteristic of herbivore. We discovered some remains of fish bones in its stomach, which means they were omnivores.
The findings were featured in this week's issue of the renowned scientific journal Nature, a first for a Korean-led paleontologist team. Son Jung-in, ARIRANG News.
Now, Vincent van Gogh's works are considered timeless masterpieces, but with art, there's always room for creativity. And today, our Im Hyun-hee joins us with that idea. Good afternoon, Hyun-hee.
Good afternoon. So, Korea has, over the past few decades, seen a robust growth of interest in the fine arts, including artists like Van Gogh. We've seen everything from the more traditional exhibitions to more creative takes to the artists. And so today, I have an exhibition for you that takes a quite creative approach, and it's very mesmerizing. I think you'll enjoy it. Take a look.
A warm grassy field, a beautiful scene in nature. Vincent van Gogh has created countless masterpieces that have gone on to become some of the world's most iconic works of art. Works like The Starry Night, where each star above the quiet village seems to burst to life. From rural scenes to self-portraits, Van Gogh was one of the most important painters of the 20th century. And his influence has even reached into the modern day, where he's still regarded as a master of art.
When Van Gogh entered the peak of his painting career, he created most of his works within 10 years. The ones done on farm landscapes showed dark images of life on the farm. But when he moved to Paris, he started using bright colors to paint the beauty of nature. Although 10 years seems short, he used a range of different styles and colors.
Soaring at over 4 meters tall, These are probably some of the largest recreations of Van Gogh's works to have ever been made. But the rough beauty and bold colors originally admired in his art is carried over into these animated versions, Van Goghs of the 21st century. In a day and age dominated by machinery, Van Gogh's works can still command attention. Through the combination of 3D mapping, special software, and even music specifically made for the exhibition, the works of Van Gogh are just as pioneering and surprising as they were when they first emerged over 100 years ago. Technology and art come together for a new type of Van Gogh experience.
You'll notice we use more than 70 projectors, and through a process of edge blending, images adjacent to each other can look like one work. And through animation, we created an eye and muscle movement to draw attention to his portraits, bringing them to life. With landscape portraits, we picked focus objects like stars or wheat fields to emphasize. That way we can create an overall effect.
It's the same masterpiece seen through a modern-day lens. Van Goghs will forever be timeless works of art. And instead of looking from the outside, technology and creative thinking has opened the door, allowing viewers to almost step into a world painted by Vincent van Gogh.
I'm just speechless. The wall was
Beautiful.
just right, amazing. So all these works were created by one artist?
No. So here's the thing. With this one, there are teams involved. So quite a bit of work went into putting this together. So there's a visual team, the After Effects team, the 3D team, technical team, sound team, space design team. So you can imagine how many people were involved in putting this together. But really this collaboration between these people, between the team, really put together this multi-sensory new type of experience of Van Gogh.
And you were telling me earlier that there's a special exhibition that people can actually take part in?
Right, so there's another part there. So I don't know if you've noticed, lately we've seen a lot of sort of virtual parts of exhibitions now, and this one includes that. So it's a place where you can go look at letters written by Van Gogh. So many years ago, Vincent van Gogh is said to have written over 600 letters to his art dealer brother, Theo van Gogh. And so those letters are our primary source of understanding him as an artist, Van Gogh as an artist. And so those letters are available, they are preserved, and now you can see them virtually. You can actually open them on this screen. So it's a very interesting, very fun aspect of the exhibition.
Right.
But let me ask you a question first. Have you seen any movies? Because I know you enjoy movies. Have you seen any about Vincent van Gogh?
No, I don't think so. No, not yet.
They are offering a look at a new movie that is going to show here in Korea starting on the 30th. So it's the Van Gogh Legacy movie, and it's supposed to start showing on the 30th, but you can catch a glimpse of it at the exhibition as well. They're showing a highlight version. And so with that part, you really can see the artist, because he really had a lot of struggles in his life, a lot of psychological disorders that he had to really take care of and handle. And so with this movie, you can kind of get a sense of the artist and kind of understand his works better.
And you said the exhibition is taking place at the War Memorial in
Korea.
Right, Yongsan-gu. I'm going to write that down. All right, thank you very much, Yunhee, for today's report.
My pleasure.
The weather is looking great. I'm Michelle Park here with an update. It was a chilly morning all across the nation today, including in Seoul, where it hit 8.5 degrees. Now temperatures are going down day by day, making it feel more like winter, which you can also tell by the frost in the mornings. However, due to the sunny skies, our daytime highs are expected to rise about 10 degrees, putting the highs into the 20s. And currently, it's mostly sunny outdoors, although it's looking a bit foggy over in Gyeongsang-namdo province, which will clear up as the temperature goes up throughout the day. Now to our readings for today. Seoul will peak at 20 this afternoon. Meanwhile, the southern cities such as Gwangju and Busan will peak to 21 and 20 degrees. And moving over to other regions, Jeju Island peaks to 19 while Dokdo hits low at 16, while Mangungang is a tad hotter at 18 degrees. Well, that's all for now. I'm Michelle Park and have a wonderful day.
And that does it for this edition of our newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back in about 90 minutes at 4 p.m. Korea time.